Father Claude de la Colombiere was the blessed who wrote half of this book. He was also the one charged with the responsibility of making valid or making the Sacred Heart devotion take off as a valid devotion. And he was charged with that by Christ himself. He died a young man. Oh boy, I just did something stupid. Anyway, he wrote... I acquired this book several years ago. And I want to read from it. This is his spiritual direction. The foreword to the book is the encyclical letter of Pope Pius XII on devotion to the Sacred Heart. Opens up, and that was 1956, opens with the glorious and joyous words of Isaiah the prophet, "You shall draw waters with joy out of the Savior's fountains." The Church applies this passage to the Sacred Heart of Jesus and the abundance of heavenly gifts poured out on mankind. Certainly, one of the great gifts given to the Church is the Jesuit Blessed Claude de la Colombiere. This blessed shared the same century with St. Margaret Mary Alacoque, the Visitation nun who received the visions of the Sacred Heart. Okay, so let's go right to some of his directions. On Holy Mass. God is more honored by a single Mass, he says, than he could be by all actions of angels and men together, however fervent and heroic they might be. Wow. Yet how few hear Mass with the intention of giving God this sublime honor. How few think with joy on the glory of a Mass that's given to God. How few rejoice to possess the means of honoring him as he deserves. How seldom do we thank Jesus Christ that in doing away with all other sacrifices, he has left us a sacrifice that cannot fail to be pleasing to God, a thank offering proportionate to the benefits we have received from him, a victim capable of effacing the sins of the world. It may be that in praying and fasting and giving alms I offend God by my bad intention or by the way I act. More than I glorify him. Perhaps my acts of penance merit punishment rather than cancel it, and my alms render me a still greater debtor to God. But when I hear Mass, when I offer the holy sacrifice as priest or as a member of the Church, I can with full courage and confidence defy heaven to do anything that pleases God more. Then I can ask for pardon and be sure of obtaining it, no matter how great or numberless my sins. Whatever I hope for and desire, I can pray for confidently. I can ask for great graces of every kind for myself, my friends, my enemies, and far from being ashamed at asking for so much, I shall know it is little in comparison with what I offer. My only fear is that I shall ask too little and not have a firm, unshakable hope of obtaining not only what I ask, but far more. If we only knew the treasure we hold in our hands, happy 1,000 times, those who know how to profit by the Mass. In this adorable sacrifice they can find all things, graces, riches, spiritual and temporal, favors for body, for mind, for life and eternity. Yet how often we must confess that we do not even think of using the treasures we possess. We do not even try to grasp it. What value do we set upon Holy Mass? With what intentions do we assist at Mass? How do we hear it? Some come from custom and human respect, sometimes even from less worthy motives than that. At Mass, they are occupied with useless thoughts. They assume themselves with looking at the decorations of the church or at the people. They talk and even yawn, not knowing how to occupy themselves. Have you never received any favors from God? And have you thanked Him for them? Take care lest, through lack of gratitude, you prevent God from showering His blessings upon you. It is a strange thing that we who are surrounded and loaded with God's blessings, we whom God has loved, he's talking about Catholics here, obviously, God has loved, preserved, and cherished from the first moment of our life until now, have never even thanked Him as we ought. This we can do in Holy Mass. And that's on the Mass. And I'll do little pieces with different videos on each one of those.